Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Ryan Selvey, and I'm here to help you guys check out the week 3 of aescripts and aeplugins summer sale. Week 3, got plenty of stuff to go through today. We have some really great guests today, as you guys saw from the opening. We have Ryan Summers and Bretton Brander. We're also going to have Lloyd here alongside us the whole time, who is the creator of aescripts and aeplugins. Hi to a bunch of people in the chat over on Behance and on YouTube. We're both simulcasting in Behance and YouTube. So hello to Katerina and Rob. Thanks for tuning in. Good to have you guys here. Also hello to Marcelo. If you guys have any questions or comments as we interview the guests and we go over different plugins and offerings, please, by all means, throw them in the chat. We love to hear from you. That's the whole point of it being a live stream. That way there can be a back and forth and we can answer any questions you may have and anything that you have about the sales or comments about plugins that you love. So it's a pleasure to go ahead and bring in Lloyd, but great to have you guys here, and I'm going to bring him in. So, hey, Lloyd.
Yo!
We're up in the clouds. We're on cloud 9 this week.
Yeah, I banged my head in the clouds right there.
Oh, yeah. How'd you bang your head?
I was putting a paddleboard up on a shelf, and I banged my head.
Oh, well, I mean, it's a good problem to have.
Exactly. Good problem.
Now, you don't have one of those inflatable ones, though?
It is. Yeah, that was the problem. It was like very light. And then I don't know.
Well, hopefully we can keep you together for at least an hour. If you get dizzy or anything, please just blink a few times.
It looks worse than it feels.
It really doesn't look bad at all. You look great. But really excited for anyone who's joining for the very first time. Do you want to kind of just give a quick overview of what the summer of sales is and what the deal is this week?
Yeah, we we really try to avoid gimmicks on this side, if you will. Like we really try to have the products that we offer priced, at a affordable, not just affordable, but in a way that it can be sustainable. And we actually didn't have any sales for the very first years of the site, but over the years we learned people really love sales. Like they really go crazy for sales. So we decided to just do one sale, like the Cyber Week sale, and then we really were getting a lot of pressure to have another sale. So then we started the summer sale, but decided that we would use the summer to allow us to kind of feature, because we have so many authors and so many products on the site. The summer sale really lets us focus in on certain products and authors. And so instead of having everything on sale, we just have certain products. And this is actually how we got Ryan Summers to be so interested, because he also loves calling out specific products and stuff. And this is really allows us to do that. And this particular summer, we did something even more interesting, which is we made this sort of progressive discount thing. If you saw the promo there at the beginning, it's kind of like a video game idea where the more you spend, the more you save. So just a little extra fun to have here over the summer.
And you just want to walk through that clarification real quick as far as how
it
works?
So the way it works is the products that are on sale are 20% off to begin with. So there's nothing you need to do there. When you add them to the shopping cart, and then, you know, like any product, even the ones that are not on sale, can count towards this spend goal. So if you have one product that's on sale, but 10 other products that are not on sale, but the total adds up to $100 or more, then the products that are on sale will be switch to being 25% off, so they'll have an additional 5% off basically. And then the same, if you spend more than $250, then there will be an additional 10% added in the cart. So the 20 plus the additional 10 will be approximately 30. So yeah, real PhD level sale. So we don't want anybody falling asleep here in the summer. So and trust me, we get plenty of support tickets with people not getting totally confused. But
well, it's confusing, but in the end, it will bring you guys better savings, and it also just gets you to have you check out more products and load up your carts for things that really interest you. If you're kind of lost and you're overwhelmed with what you kind of want to do, how you want to enhance your workflow, you're like, I'm really into graphics, but I don't necessarily know some great deals to get. I don't know what to pull out of these. We will be walking through a bunch of them. You can go to aescripts.com right up here. And at any point, if you just click into the details, it'll give you actually a full-on list of everything that's happening for this week. And as you hover over, it will tell you what everyone's offering. You can click in. And for every single product, there are really great walkthroughs and videos and trailers. So you can also explore and check it out on your own. But that's enough of me talking. And we're really excited to bring Ryan in. Ryan doesn't even need an introduction. You probably don't know who he is on Ryan Summers. He is on Twitter as Otternob. What is it? Otternob. See, I know it just as the disconcerting face that I see when I ever see him tweet. But he's an amazing motion designer. He has worked in the past at School of Motion. I can now let him speak to what he's doing now. But we're really excited to have him on. He does this big list all the time of all the plugins that he's excited about in the summer sales. So it made sense to bring him in. And we're really excited to have him on the show. So I'm going to go ahead and bring him in.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Ryan.
Oodlenod. I like Oodlenod better than Otternod. That was good.
Like I said, I just know the scary face that you have.
He's such a lovable person too. And I feel like I've had so many people who've never met me in real life think that's actually me, but that is not me. I cannot.
With a mask on.
That is. He's no longer here with us, but that was my favorite pro wrestler back in the day. His name was Big Van Vader, and he's a very, very special person to me.
So, watching wrestling growing up, was there like motion graphics that you got excited about with the wrestlers, and that's what
there was all of it, right? Like there's all the entrances and all the music and all the costume design, and then when I started getting into to like Japanese wrestling somehow, don't ask me how that happened, but that also had a lot of support from like Japanese animation, which was not that easy to get into back when I'm very old, so it was a long time ago. But yeah, I don't know, maybe
with you, Ryan, we're together. Maybe.
I think I never really thought this, but maybe pro wrestling was my portal into motion design. You just discovered that for me, Ryan. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so you said you're pretty old, but how long have you been into motion design, and what got you into it outside of wrestling?
I mean, I graduated college, I think in 2000, but I was going to be a chemical engineer, and then I flipped at the last second to actually I wanted to do character animation, and I was in Chicago, which there was not much of that. I was able to do it for about a year, but then the industry kind of dropped out, and it took me another 5 or 6 years to even discover that motion design was a thing. That was back when we called it, what do we call it, MoGraph back then, Lloyd? If it even had a name. There was
exactly. It was like we're graphic designers, but it moves.
It
Oh,
moves,
make
yeah.
movies.
Yeah,
I
I
hope
mean,
it moves.
we used to just always describe After Effects as Photoshop with a timeline, which I think actually does a pretty big disservice to it now. But that was it. I mean, I did 3D. I went to school for 3D animation, so I did like 3D character stuff and all of that. And then I kind of like, I wouldn't say went backwards, but took a sidestep and was doing a lot of motion design, which didn't have a lot of 3D. I used to use 3D Studio Max and XSI and Softimage, and that was a foreign territory, when I really started, in motion design. And then like Cinema 4D just kind of came out of nowhere. And I remember being at Imaginary Forces for a while, and there were not many people using it. It was not the easiest tool, could not render very fast. We had huge farms full of stuff in like the world now. I just I recently left School of Motion to get back into the kind of creative directing motion design game. Man, it is so much fun being back in Cinema 4D 3 years later, when all the stuff that was a little difficult in Octane and Redshift and a lot of other things, like a lot of that stuff's been worked out. Not all of it, but a lot of it's been worked out. After Effects is like significantly faster in the last like 6 to 9 months than it was 3 years ago. So I feel like a lot of the speed has come back. That said, there's still a lot of need for a lot of scripts, which I really want to talk about today because there's some good ones.
Let's talk about the scripts.
Yeah, so I went ahead. I actually brought up the thread that you have recently tweeted on the 11th, and it has a walkthrough of everything that you're really excited about, and we'll be talking through it a little bit today. I put it in both of the chats for you guys. By the way, a big hello to everyone that's saying hello from AE Screens, and I have the Behance chat over here somewhere. And to RB and Steve, thank you guys for walking in. It's good to see you guys here. If you have any questions for Ryan while he's here, please let us know. But yeah, no, thank you so much for doing these huge threads about what you're really passionate about. Do you feel like you are a big plugin and script collector?
Oh my God, it's probably embarrassing. I feel like After Effects probably takes twice as long as most people because of how many I have in my interface. I'm firing After Effects up right now. Once it actually finally opens, I'll share screens just to show my interface if you want to see. But yeah, like I mean, I feel like sometimes I do these lists whenever you guys have the sale just to remind myself either A, what I have, or B, what's out there. Because besides the fact that you all have tons of scripts, it feels like the developers are updating fairly fast as well, to where, I mean, I just saw, I think Datamosh 2, maybe I'm right, or maybe I'm wrong.
No, that came out. Yeah, big update today, which is
and it's significant,
super exciting.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in my list. But I just saw that this morning when I was getting ready to publish the Twitter list. And it's like I feel like I do these all the time just to like remind myself, like, oh yeah, that's right. Like there's so much stuff out there that no matter how intricate you make your interface, you make different workspaces for different types of like work, it's just easy to forget. You can have K-bar, you can have a bunch of, like I use quick menu quite often just to remind myself that there's stuff, but it's easy to just forget. I mean, in After Effects also, you're doing a million different things every day. So it's not like you're always just doing the same stuff. But yeah, it's I don't know how you all keep it straight, to be honest. Like the amount of stuff that's on aescripts kind of blows my mind.
But I think what it is that if you have a certain workflow and then you find a tool that really enhances or helps that workflow, then you get stuck into that. I think trying to keep up with all the tools is kind of like trying to keep up with all the pages in the New York Times. Like,
you kind of forget that like it's almost the equivalent of sports, right? Like when I was a kid, I could watch SportsCenter and I could keep track of every player on every team for every sport that I dug. But as an adult, you kind of got to pick your lane. You can't just watch every single thing. And it's kind of, I feel like After Effects and AE scripts, by an extension of that, is kind of the same thing. Like you can't do it all.
And you raise a valid point because, a lot of times when we put out tools, people are like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then they immediately go, why isn't this built into After Effects? And you just touched on it exactly right there, because by being a third-party plugin, you can plug it in, pun intended, whenever you need it, and you can unplug it if you don't need it, and then you can keep your machine set up however it is that you want to set it up for what matters and is important for you. If it was all built in, then there would be no choice, and it would just be like you said, you wouldn't be able to keep track of everything that's available. So,
well, and I think it goes back to that idea that not everybody needs to use the same tools the same way, and not everybody thinks through the process the same way. I think we're going to talk about a couple different camera plugins. Camera scripts that you all have, and I think
I think we should jump into the tools, but I just want to say one last thing, and that's one of the things when we accept a new tool that does something similar to something that we already have, we really try to make sure that it's got a different workflow or different approach to it. And, you know, a lot of people are like, well, this thing does the same thing. And it's like, yes, but how it does it is different. I think
Yeah.
we will cover that now.
Yeah, without a doubt. It makes a big difference.
So we also have Fried Pixels in the chat saying it's good to have someone who actually uses them, putting out cream of the crop list. So Fried Pixels says thank you. Also, hello to Tills Motion. Good to see you again. I recognize you from the previous week, so thanks for being here.
Nice. Thanks, James, for coming out.
So yeah, let's hop right into this list. Like I said, I pulled up the thread that you have just kind of to give us a sense of grounding. But the very first one that you wanted to talk, you said the big ones, the must-haves, the why aren't you using them every day? Got to pick them up. The first you should know about, and they both come from one After Effects animating legend, George Goulis, and that's Ray Dynamic Color and Ray Dynamic Texture. I actually have one of the trailers for it, so I'm going to pull that up and then we can talk about it right after.
Sounds good.
My name is Sonder, and I turned my personal color workflow that I've used on projects like PausFest, the Buck logo, and IBM Datagrams into a tool called Ray Dynamic Color. Working with colors should be flexible and accurate, but working with colors in After Effects is quite a mess. When you keep using the color picker over and over, colors often turn out to be different in the end. It's like playing a game of telephone. Monitor settings, textures, and effects on your layers can also influence the colors that you're trying to pick. Even if you do everything right, changing the color at a later stage is almost impossible because every color is on its own layer in the project. I think this can be done way better. First of all, by just having a simple color palette that you can use to assign colors to your scene. Ray also gives you the option to create an expression link between the colors you apply and the color palette. This allows you to change the colors throughout your project, even after they are applied, because those clients that you're working with might change their mind. Improve your workflow and get Ray Dynamic Color now.
Another great walkthrough. I love how if you have any questions about any of them, I mean, there's always a great trailer to just walk you straight through problem and solution. And I think that all the products do a really good job doing that. So thank you for pushing for that, Lloyd.
That's one of the calling cards, right? Like between like when you guys are even just doing now for the Summer of Sales, like that intro series that you have, that should be an animated series. Like it's ridiculous how good just your promo for the sales is. But I'm always amazed by, you know, the links that a lot of these developers go to. Sonder is a legend, right? Like Sonder is like one of the top best. When we were at School of Motion, our most complicated, most advanced course was built by Sonder, and he has a very distinct way of thinking. You might even hear a little bit in his tone as he's talking about the way some things work in After Effects. But I love the fact that Sonder actually put his money where his mouth was, and when he had, you know, like some ideas on what could be done better. Ray Dynamic Color, like I can't think of anything other than maybe fonts that you touch more often in After Effects than choosing colors and setting colors for your designs. And the fact that, like he says in the promo, like if you're using the color picker to kind of like eye drop something, if you get something close to like an anti-aliased edge or you're not right on the color, it's really easy to have a lot of variations. But even bigger, the thing that's amazing to me that RDC does is, you know, like if you have a set palette of colors and you need to swap them, client makes a change, you need to make variations, you're doing a toolkit for the NFL and you need to be able to have, you know, lower third swap out, you can do it programmatically and very quickly, you know, at the touch of a button. Versus imagine if you have 17 comps and you have to go from Denver Broncos orange to, you know, the color, a very similar orange, like the 49ers or someone like that. And it's not the same orange, but you need to change it. And you don't want to have to go one by one and try to visually double check. The fact that you can do that and you know for sure it's accurate, it's repeatable, and you can swap it. Like it's, I'm probably a little too guilty of saying that sometimes, Lloyd, like, why isn't this built into After Effects? But Ray Dynamic Color is one of those things when you start using enough, and especially if you're a freelancer, you're going from shop to shop and you have to install your own scripts all the time, or you have to install your plugins. It's one of the first ones you always lean to because you're like, oh gosh, like I'm not going to go and search for that orange and change it 18 times. I want to change it once and know that it works.
And this is also a great example of, like you said, a legend, a designer at the top of his game who is essentially sharing his workflow through his tool with everybody. So you as a normal motion designer can basically have the same color management and workflow that somebody at the top of their game has. And that
I mean, just look at those names on there.
Yeah.
Alex Grigg is on there. Oh, Tim Clapham. Scroll down. I'll go off those names. Yeah, Jorge, come on. Jorge, Justin, Zach Dixon. I mean, Erica. These are top people who are like using it just like you or I would. So like Ray Dynamic Color, I think its little brother or little sister that I think is just as useful and has like a lot of the same capabilities as Ray Dynamic Texture. And I think I don't know why. I haven't seen as many people use it. I don't know if it's because it came out afterwards or if it is a little bit more specific,
I think,
to Saunders' way of thinking, right? Like you have to be a little bit more willing to follow the way he would work versus just letting it be free. But once you get used to it, if you're doing a lot of shape layer work that needs to have textures built into it, it is invaluable. Like it's not as malleable as like the workflow in Ray Dynamic Color, but man, like the power of being able to do it. The other thing that I think is really, really cool about Ray Dynamic Texture that it's not in the name is that it also can act as like an expression library, which that is like a ridiculously useful kind of like secondary kind of thing, is that if you use certain expressions over and over, you can literally load them in there and at the touch of a button, just apply them. And I think, who did you guys get to make the packed in textures? It was somebody amazing.
There's tons of contributors for the packs. I think the pack that ships with it, he created.
Wasn't it? Wait, I think was it Ariel? Was it Ariel Costa?
Oh yeah, Ariel Costa. You're right. Absolutely.
That's pretty cool.
Small fact you might not know, Ryan. I'm the developer of both of these tools.
Whoa! See, I didn't know that. That's amazing. No, very cool.
Sander came to me and he's like, I want to make this tool, but I'm not a coder. And I was like,
yeah. I mean, that had to be pretty exciting to see, because it is, I mean, like I said, I know a lot of people use it and you have to kind of like bend your brain a little bit towards the direction. And I don't know how much that is because the limitations of the APIs with
I would say that the reason he made this tool is because texturing in After Effects is just very difficult, period.
Yeah.
Especially with shape layers, like you said. Shape layers, I think, were envisioned by the Adobe team to be vector art, and vector art by nature is flat colors. So to be able to combine this vector approach and add textures is something that it's his specific aesthetic, and it's why it's such a great looking stuff, because he kind of combines two things. So it's we had to jump through a ton of hoops, and what it really tries to do is it like makes it a one-click effort to do what would normally be 10 steps if you did it manually in After Effects. So
that's a great video to watch, is the promo for Ray Dynamic Texture. If you've never really saw it or used it, just watch the promo and you can count. I think it even has a counter in the bottom of how many clicks it takes to, I'm going to drop into texture, I'm going to set a Lumimap, but then I need to it's like 22 clicks for the first texture, for the first shape layer that needs a texture on it.
And the tool also does a lot of checking, so that when you actually are doing things, it goes through it and makes sure that you're not breaking other things. So it's also like a little bit of a insurance.
Yeah, that's great. What was next on the list, Ryan?
Yeah.
Were we talking cameras next?
Oh yeah.
I believe we are talking cameras next. You have the AE camera morph. Do you want to check that out real quick?
Yeah. Do you want to play it or do you want me to talk about it?
Oh, I'll play it. It's only 30 seconds long.
So
this makes sense to me, especially because you're talking about Cinema 4D. I feel like this lines up, like it tracks for what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I used to always say all the time, the best. I never animate cameras in After Effects, and they have improved the 3D workspace. The Adobe team's done a great job in giving you a ground plane and a bunch of other stuff. But animating cameras in After Effects, especially 3D cameras, are not the most fun thing to do. So I've always said the best camera plugin for After Effects is Cinema 4D. But that also might mean it's also the most expensive plugin for After Effects at the same time.
Yes.
I think the cool thing about it is that it's fire and forget, and it's very simple, but it's also still very powerful, right? Like you can literally just drop 3 cameras. You don't have to animate the cameras. You put the camera where you want it to be at the beginning. You put the camera where you want it at the end, and maybe one in the middle. You pick them, and it essentially creates a spline between those. And you can pick if it's linear or Bezier, and then you can move those individual cameras. But the only thing you keyframe is a slider, right? Like that's almost one of the most difficult things when you're animating a camera when you first start is maybe you put the camera under a null, but then you animate the null and you're dealing with 3 position tracks, 3 rotation tracks. It's just a lot to keep straight in your head. This just simplifies it, right? It just
Actually,
makes it
Reaver
so
Mike
clean.
literally just said that. He was like, you can use a null, but it's like, yeah, you can use a null, but it obviously complicates things because there's a lot more factors to it. Where if you just
And if I can jump in here and say, you once again touched on what we really try to offer here. There's so many ways you can animate a camera. And even if you still want to animate it in Cinema 4D, we have a plugin called AEC4D Pro,
Oh my God,
which actually facilitates the back and forth between Cinema 4D and After Effects, if that's the way you want to work, right? It's like,
well, that's the thing again. I mean, not to be screaming from the mountaintops about what you all do, but there still are also at least 3 different ways to take your cameras and nulls from Cinema 4D to After Effects. And all of them have their gotchas, but AEC4D Pro, like that was the first thing I installed in Cinema and After Effects when I started working at this company and was no longer working at School of Motion, because the fact that I can communicate cleanly and I know everything's going to work. I know that if I'm changing focal length, it's still going to work. You know, that does not always work when you go from Cinema to After Effects the old school way. There's even a world where you could, if you hate moving cameras around in C4D Lite, you could set up your cameras in 3D in Cinema 4D and then export those out and then do the 3D camera morph, this AE camera morph to animate between them, and literally just use C4D Lite, just the C4D that comes with After Effects. You don't have to worry about doing anything else. But you know, that UI experience is so sweet inside of Cinema 4D for moving around, picking an object, being able to rotate around it when you hold down Alt. Like there's a lot of really nice little things in there. But then this small little script that just lets you move through. But I think speaking of like what you just said, there's 3 different ways to do everything. I just downloaded this last week when I saw it. I really like BoxCam 2. BoxCam 2 is like, talk about making the act of animating 2D cameras, you know, like explainer video stuff, or you have a really big map. You need to move through like a UI experience, and you just say, I need to move here, then I need to scale up to move here, and then I need to move really, you know, tight down. And then I want to do like a 3-stage, like scale back 3 times. It is so light and so easy. It literally just draws a box. There's a box, just like essentially like a solid with a layer around, with a stroke around it. You just put it where you want. You animate to where you want it to go next, and then you can create another comp that you're basically viewing through that camera. And it's so easy to just do something that honestly, like, again, animated camera is a pain, but if you want to scale, rotate, or position, just this little guide box, it makes it actually makes it fun. It actually takes something that is super frustrating and sometimes complicated, and it legitimately is fun to animate a camera this way. So there you go. There's like two things, like animate a camera. Why do you need 3 different ways to do it? There's 3, you know, there's at least 2 very different use cases, different scenarios that I think they work really well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ryan, you would love BoxCam because it's a 2D approach to 3D cameras, so it's great.
Yeah.
Oh,
all right. Next.
I'm always having these giant canvases that I have in After Effects that I'm moving around and trying to, like, you know, have it so I don't have to commit to a camera, but I really should commit to a camera. You know,
this is fun because you could literally make one like supersized comp, and then you put a 1920 by 1080, you know, square inside it, and all you're doing is it's like you're just moving the map back and forth underneath like a lockdown thing. It actually seems like it'd be something that'd be really fun if you were doing old school 2D animation and doing pans across backgrounds that were like supersized.
What's the name of the documentary guy?
Ken Burns.
Ken Burns.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like the Ken Burns or like overhead projector, you know.
Totally. It feels like that when you're doing it. It's super cool. So yeah, I love both of those. I also will say I like Handycam from the Plug and Everything guys, but that's not on this week's sale. But those 2 are great.
Yeah, and even somebody mentioned Sure Target. Video Copilot has one too.
Yeah, and, I don't know. Does Sure Target still work though?
Well, that's it, right? So like Sure Target is super old, and some of the tools that we have duplicate the functionality of it. So there's lots of options. So
another really popular one that you called out too, just to move on to the next one, would be the Lazy 2. And I feel like Lazy has always been such a hit. Like that's one of the first ones I kind of always remember when I go on to aescripts.
Can I share my screen? I can show you. It's like literally lives rent free in my in my After Effects. Like it's like, again, it's another one of those ones that just like as soon as you can, you put it on there.
It's a squatter.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's so fun to use. Can you see this? It sits right here.
Sure,
yeah. So like again, like this is probably overkill for most people, but I really do like, like K-Bar here has a bunch of just little individual scripts and stuff that people have written for me, labels, Prism, but man, like all my animation stuff sits right in here, right? So Keystone, super invaluable, literally for like just this button There's a lot of other great things about it, but I love it just for the constant speed button. Ease copy. My buddy Jordan Scott introduced it to me like ages ago, and I was like, oh, I think I already have 3 different things that do. I'm like, no, this is just super easy to like. If you have a certain kind of like you have 7 keyframes and they have a certain type of ease and out across those 7, you can copy and paste it super easily. And then the best one of all of them, like I feel like I use Flow more than I actually do use the actual curve editor inside After Effects. But Lazy 2 sits right there, and it's funny because they almost kind of look very similar, but Lazy 2 is kind of like Flow in my mind, but for multiple keyframes. Like I use Flow all the time just to be able to set like what kind of ease in and ease out you want between 2 keyframes. And then Lazy is like, oh, do I want to stagger stuff? Like let's say you have like five bouncing balls and you want to offset them in time, right? It's really a pain in the butt to say, okay, I want the first one to be 10, or the next one to be 8. I think I want the third one to be 5, and then like how far they all get offset. You can literally just pull up all these presets and essentially either layers or keyframes, adjust them super, super easily. And then there's also something in here called pinching that I don't know if I know how to describe it. I just use it. And it's awesome. It's amazing.
And it's a visual approach to something kind of technical. So for visual people, I think it's super awesome.
Yeah. And it's great too, because if you have to do a lot of like UI UX stuff where there is a motion design language, like having Flow where you can literally put in the proportions, the mathematical proportions of like, okay, I want 66 out and 33 in. You can kind of now carry over that animation language repeatably with also how you offset your animations, the timing for your animations, the timing for your layers can also now like you can have those just saved as presets and just apply them and not have to remember them or punch them in.
Yeah, and in the case of Lazy, it just moves the keyframes or the layers around. So once it's done, it's like it's like you have done it manually, but it's with very perfect precision. And then you can, like talking about UX, you can export it using body moving, and it would export correctly. So
yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's not doing anything like there's no scripts like applied. There's no expressions applied to the layers or the keyframes, which is really nice. They're still live. You can still go in and adjust stuff after the fact, but yeah, it's wonderful. And then what was the other one that I thought was really cool too, that I never saw, that I literally was looking for something that does this, is like, if you're doing anything with like characters or like kind of fairly intense rigs, like parenting and unparenting stuff, when you have to do a lot at one time or see where the child or the parent relationship is, there's actually like a select child and select parent command when you right click on a layer that is not available as a keyboard shortcut in After Effects' keyboard shortcuts. But Layer Sitter is basically like the parenting power panel. Like it literally is like you can grab anything, you can see what things are parented, you can unparent, you can parent them. It's really smart, I think, about what it actually will parent or unparent. Like it does, like you were saying earlier, some type of checking. It seems like it's fairly intelligent in terms of like, oh, you probably didn't want to parent that even though you selected it. So it's kind of one that was way underneath my radar. I mean, for as many scripts as I just showed you, I've never heard of it before.
Also, isn't it a great name?
Yeah, that's an awesome name. Yeah.
If you think about like, for anybody who's a parent, you know that your kids behave differently when they're with a babysitter than they do with you. So when you're trying to do parenting, it doesn't actually cooperate. But when you're a babysitter,
it's good. I like it. You've thought about this marketing stuff before, I think.
All right, let's watch that one real quick, and then we'll have time for one more before we go ahead and bring in Brenton. But I'm going to play the Layer Sitter one just because I like it. Keeping the family together. I just like, I love the select all children button. I think that's really cool. I'm going to actually pick this one up this week.
I need that in real life.
I need to know where they are and who's belonging to them at this moment. Am I the parent or is my wife the parent right now? Can I switch that and change it temporarily?
It's like those old one where it's like, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where children are?
Exactly. Yeah, you have 700 comps. Do you know which one's your children? You said I could do one more, right? I had a few more.
Yeah, please go ahead. Right.
So the one that I think is kind of a conundrum to me, just because I haven't played with it a lot, but the little bit that I did play with it, it feels a little overwhelming because it really feels like it's almost like an additional animation engine. We talk about render engines a lot with 3D, but it feels like it's almost an animation engine that's in addition to what you can do in After Effects, and that was Motioneer. For one, I love the name Motioneer, but for two, the fact that it kind of mimics what I love doing in Cinema 4D of creating motion clips, like chunking a lot of different parts of an animation on a character, or like a hand wave, right? Like I want to be able to do a hand wave and animate that once, but then one time, if I want a character running, I want to still be able to add that hand wave into the run and not have to do it bespoke every time. Especially if I'm doing like an explainer where there's repeated actions in different scenarios or different characters that need to do the same thing. I've always wanted like motion clip capability inside of After Effects. And I only played with it on like a bouncing ball where I could actually like copy an animation and then go to another comp with a different object and then paste that animation and then also like offset it, like be like, oh no, it needs to go up or go down. But let me know, is that what it's kind of like? Is that the intention, Lloyd? Is that it's kind of like being able to create this, saving these clips and have a library and then be able to reapply them, not just to the object you made it on, but to other
almost
stuff?
almost like pre-comping for motion only.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
I just want to interject here real quick. Adobe Live, welcome to the stream. We are talking with Lloyd Alvarez, who is the owner of aescripts and aeplugins. There's a sale going on all this week, and so we're having Ryan Summers on, a very talented motion designer that you probably know, walking through some of his favorites. We went ahead and we're putting all of the links into the chat for you guys if you want to check out some of the plugins that are on sale, but we'll also throw them in. And right now we're talking about Motioneer, which is a really great plugin. And I guess actually would it be cool if I just played the trailer real quick?
I feel like this one more than any of them you can do to play the trailer. That's a lot.
By the way, that was the promo for Motioneer Lite. So he actually created a light version so that it's a little bit more approachable for you to get started with and dip your toes into this. Like, yeah, it's like a modular approach to animation. So if you are, like getting back to Sonder, you start, or even Jorge, right? You have like signature to the way you animate, and so you can actually start saving these things. And I don't know if you noticed, but it's like aspect ratio independent, which means that
that didn't make sense to me. That was kind of mind breaking.
Yeah, so you can animate. If you created something in HD, especially now that everything's got to be like TikTok friendly, and you're going from something that was this way and now it's got to be this way. So you can take those animations, paste them into the other comp, and then it still works, and you can scale it down so it doesn't. Because otherwise it would be all distorted and stuff. So, it's super powerful.
Just stretch it. It's fine, right?
Exactly.
You joke about that, but that little guide tool that you showed where you rotate it and it's up on an incline, but then the thing that dropped my jaw was when you scaled that guide tool and the animation path scaled. Like that was a little bit where I'm like, what? There's something little black magic going on in there. That's not what I'm used to.
And again, you can do all these things manually, but again, it would be 100 steps. And this just really makes it like save your animation, apply it, replace it with something else. And you move on and you focus on actually what matters, which is your design or your animations or whatever, and not getting bogged down with having to do the 50,000 steps, attached to an O and that. And so,
I mean, that's what makes the difference, right? Like when you're working on stuff is when the amount of things you avoid when you're working because you don't know. Not only could you do it, but is it easily repeatable, or is it something that you can hand off to another person, explain to them how to do it? The amount of stuff you just don't do in After Effects because like, I could do it if I had unlimited time and nobody else ever had to touch it. That's what I think is another one of the powers of a lot of these tools is that it takes something that, cool, you could do it natively, but could the person next to you Can they do it 20 times in a day? Maybe not. And that keeps you from actually like exploring to your full extent. So yeah, I need to spend more time with Motion here, but it feels like the kind of tool I've always wanted in After Effects.
And by the way, he's got another tool which we featured for his thing called Text Force, which is like a very specific to text. So it makes animating text and repeatable sort of motions of text very quick and easy. But it's got a very cool, like punchy cut kind of vibe to it.
Nice, yeah.
Which is a big favorite of mine. I love to go on with the type and have everything move around. So, but yeah, guys, I went ahead. I put Ryan's link into the chat for both YouTube and Behance for you guys to check out if you want to go and see everything that he kind of walks through. He gives a good little snippet of information for each one too, so it'll jog your memory as well. But thank you so much, Ryan, for coming on.
Yeah, thank you all for having us, and thanks for
doing
making all this stuff.
Yeah, no, Ryan, we can't thank you enough. You've been a huge fan and supporter of the site for so many years, and we just love the energy you bring, and you know, congratulations on the new venture.
Thanks.
I think it's going to be great. So
I think I sold a couple Boxcam licenses today already. So awesome. But thank you. I mean, I'm a fan, obviously, but I'm a fan because I know what it can do. And I've traveled to so many shops and seen so many different people who I'll start working on install something and they'll be like, what did you just do? You know, like when we all actually used to work in the same space together, you know, like it's even harder now to get the discovery. So for me, that's part of like the call to action. It's like, I love you all, but like, I just feel like so many people could, you know, really, really benefit from some of these tools that even if it's a little thing like being able to reposition an anchor point in one button press, you know, instead of having to do the pan behind to it. Like when people see it, they get it. When you tell them, it's kind of difficult. But like when you actually see someone using it, you're like, what did you just do? And you see that it's a $5 script or it's something on sale or, you know, whatever it is, people's brains just like, they light up really fast. So it's awesome. I'm glad you guys are doing these live streams too, because I think it helps people see what's possible.
Yeah, exactly. No, and this is so great to get your perspective on it as well. You know, like when you're in the inside, it's kind of not the same. So, and it's a good time to mention the our manager app, by the way. If you are a freelancer who's jumping from shop to shop, you can use our manager app to, in one click, download, install, and license all of the tools and plugins that you buy from us. And then also uninstall and remove the license when you're done at the end of the day. And because it literally is one click, you can do it every day if you wanted to, because, you know, sometimes you don't know if you're going to be back the next day. Exactly. So we'll put the link in the chat for that as well.
Yeah, it's very useful. Thank you all.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right. And then I'm just going to go ahead and go real quick. Just bring up the manager that he was talking about, and it's really great. It also has a little reminder also for your sale. But you can see here, I have all the ones that, it's updating my product list. You see that I have a few, like my smart keyframe navigator, which I think I picked up last week. And I can just go, and it has one that I can go. I can click install. It'll do it for me. It asks me even where I want to do it. And press OK. Give it that information, and then it'll update. You can even click more than one at once, and then
that's the power, that you can select as many as you want, and it'll do them all at once. Yeah. It doesn't have to be all, but you could also do select all, or just exactly the ones you need. So if you are a freelancer and you only need 3 tools, then you can just select those 3 and quickly install.
Absolutely. Well, next up, we're going to bring in Breton Brander, who's actually been on the show before, so we're really excited to have him back. We're bringing him on because he has this new product that you guys are going to find really cute and very animated, and I'm going to let him talk about it. But before we do that, real quick, just want to say hi to Sylvester and MVP, both over in Behance. Welcome to the chat, and welcome to Breton. Hey, man, how's it going?
Hey, Ryan. Hey, Lloyd.
Hey, Breton. How are you doing?
Pretty good. How you guys doing?
I'm trying to block my sunlight here, but I'm not being very successful.
You're glowing. You're in the clouds.
It's good to see you, man. And I actually right before but we should mention that even though you are not part of the sale, your partnership with AE Screens and specifically Emoji Kit is the reason you're on. But all your products are great as well. So.
Yeah, we've actually had him on before to walk through some of his like Hover and KeyFast, which are some of my personal favorites. I use KeyFast on a daily basis. It just stays docked. It's one of my always stays there. But also, you just recently announced Emoji Kit, which, like I was saying, is very cute and animated. So let's play that trailer, and then you can walk through it.
Sounds good.
All right, so I have to know what's your favorite emoji, and is it included in this kit?
Oh man. Well, my favorite emoji in the kit is probably the exploding head. My favorite emoji that I actually use. Let me check for you.
Oh, you got your stats, your analytics.
Looks like thumbs up is my number one emoji.
I mean, it checks out. I mean, it's good. I mean, at least it's a positive one. It's not negative. It's not the thumbs
Yeah.
down. I'd be worried.
Next to
But
the,
I can even see actually on your screen here, you even have the exploding head guy open right on your screen.
Yeah, there's my favorite one. So this is Emoji Kit. It makes these little animated emojis. It's really straightforward. You can loop them. In this one, it just plays once, but I can turn on a box to loop them. I can search in here through the emoji library.
And you just have that tagged in like happy or party and
Totally. Yeah. And you can actually hover over them to see all the different tags. And that includes like the emoji, I forget what it's called, but each emoji has a specific code attached to it.
Yeah.
And this one, if I hover over it, is 1F97E. So if you like searching emojis by their actual code name, you can do that too.
nerd.
Yeah. I have them all memorized, Ryan. But
no, that's great.
no, I don't. But yeah, so super straightforward. It has them looping, it has them not looping if you want. You can do a static emoji. I kind of geeked out on this little animated button here.
Yeah, look at that.
It's totally a gimmick, but it's also a button. If you click on it, it will do things like toggle between the static version of the emoji versus the non-static. And you can also change looping preferences. So like you can do boomerang looping if you want, which just plays forward and then backward, which in most emojis is kind of hard to tell the difference, but some of them makes a difference. Yeah,
It's helpful. You don't have to get buried into a time remap keyframe, bundle. You can just go and you can click the checkbox to have it switch so that it boomerangs back and forth, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes, like a loop works better as a boomerang, especially if you're using it as an SVG and you're using body moving to export it. So that leads me to a very important question, Breton. Are these just shape layers? What's going on underneath the hood?
Yeah, great question, Lloyd. These are all 100% Lottie compatible. Thanks for setting me up, Lloyd. I think you maybe already knew that. So all these are vector data. So these can be converted out for Lottie, which was kind of like a big thing for me. I'm going to continue to make these as the library expands, make sure that they're Lottie compatible.
Yeah, I did Lottie for a client a few months ago, and I was so surprised. To those that are watching that and heard of it, basically you can just export straight from After Effects, and it give you just this big old code, and you take that code and you just plop it into the Lottie player onto a website, and then like you can make it so as you scroll, something animates, or it all works. So it's not these huge files either, and they're really crazy,
And the tool you use to export them is called Body Moving, which a little bit of history. I don't know if even you know this, Breton, but Body Moving, it kind of invented this concept of exporting After Effects into code. And the team at Airbnb was the web team at Airbnb was looking for a way to lighten the weight of because they used to use animated GIFs and these things that made the apps really heavy and they were not as fast. So they fell in love with Body Moving. Body Moving is an open source project. So they approached Hernan, who's the author of Body Moving, and then created a iOS player. And that's what was called Lottie. And then they turned Lottie also into open source. And then this other company now has kind of taken it over and done this Lottie files thing. And I think it's now part of Adobe, but it's all started by Body Moving, which is still available on our site. It's open source, so it's name your own price, which means that whatever you pay is a donation towards the continued development of it. But it's totally open source, so you can download it for free if you want. And it is a total game changing thing. You can now have animations that look just like the animation in After Effects, but it's all in code, so it's resolution independent. It's always perfect vectors, so it's always super sharp. So if you want to have like an emoji that like congratulates you for filling out the form correctly or whatever, you go to Emoji Kit, you animate it however you want it, you export it using body moving, and then you embed it into your web page using a Lottie file, and you have a super dope, very quick loading web page that has an awesome animation on it.
Yeah, I think it's a great point too, because emojis have become this language, this internet language that you can kind of just like throw in, and it's like a universal design. You don't have to necessarily worry about like language barriers, and thinking about using them as like responsive like gratification at the end of a survey is a cool idea.
Definitely.
Also over in the chat, Time Pro Animation says, yes, it's good to see something practical, which they're excited to see the emoji. They also are asking about sound or sound effects. And while there isn't sound effects in it, it would be very easy to just be able to throw it on top because it's just straight in your timeline. It just works like any other footage as well. And so you could add a little kazoo for the party if you wanted to.
Yeah, super fun idea. And Ryan, you asked me what my favorite emoji is, so I'm curious maybe what your and Lloyd's favorite emoji is.
Oh,
what my favorite emoji? Wow, I got spun on myself. I mean, I like the skeleton guy. I use that a lot. And then what else do I use? I'm trying to see what my top one is right now.
How are you guys checking which one of your top one is? This is an iOS thing or something?
Yeah, you get your frequently used, and it'll be up there. But I
have I see. You look at the little frequently or whatever.
Yeah. I also like the melting smile. That's a relatively new one that's not supported on everything, but that one's really funny.
That's a good one. Nice. Lloyd, any favorites?
Well, the favorites and most used are different. The most used, I think I do the high 10 and the thumbs up is what I use the most. Actually, in the fire one, because I do a lot of like replying on Instagram that like what you created was fire. But on a personal note, definitely the poop emoji, because I'm an against the grain kind of guy and just never want to take life too seriously.
Which is included on the emoji kit, which is nice. It does a little.
I mean, it's part of the official spec, so you have to.
My poop don't jiggle, it fold.
This emoji was like one of the weirdest experiences for me to create. I didn't animate it, but when I received it back from my animator on this project, it was like I had a moment where life kind of flashed before my eyes, where I'm like, this is such a weird, like one of those out of body experiences where you're like, this is what I'm doing for work.
Yeah, you know what? You're doing God's work, though. I will say that. You know, it was something that needed to be created and put out into the world, and you did it.
Yeah. And then while we're here, do you mind if I actually just geek out a little bit over a few other features I forgot to?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. Would love to hear.
Perfect. I figured that most people watching are kind of the people that might be interested in some of these lesser known features. So within the settings of Emoji Kit, you can also change like the default size. So currently I have it at 1,000 pixels, but I could do like 500 pixels.
By the way, the settings window is not visible when you're sharing, just FYI.
Oh, bummer. Okay, thanks for letting me know. Well, it's a little pop-up with a little box and pretty straightforward. But yeah, you can enter in the pixel value. And you can see that the emoji is a little bit smaller now. So compared to...
And that's completely scalable because it's all vectors, so you don't have to worry about blowing it up too big and having that get weird.
Yeah, but being able to create it at the size that you need initially instead of scaling it is actually a really nice feature.
Definitely. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for Emoji Kit. I'm also happy to like do a quick overview of Burstbox if you're into that, but no worries if not.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to check it, Burstbox is relatively new. It's not currently on sale, but I mean, while you're there and you're checking things out, might as well.
It's not currently
have it open.
The engine of Burstbox is what led to Emoji Kit, right?
Yes, definitely. So I'll actually, I can just not, I can set it on like a little sale, like for the course of this live stream or something like that.
Just go ahead and show it.
Yeah. Well, he's not into. Okay, so here's Burstbox, and pretty much the same idea. We just have a burst library, and you can see there's like different themes. You can hover over them to see what theme is. This one's fireworks. And yeah, once you kind of get to know like the name of the burst that you like, you can search for them as well. And there's a pretty easy like color toggle here. So it comes with some default built-in color palettes, and you can also like override them really easily, or just change the fill over here to override like all the colors if you want a single color. But yeah, that's it. That's Burstbox.
That's great.
These are both Emoji Kit and Burstbox are these like really easy to browse little toolkits for things that you're going to be able to pepper onto other animations, which is super great.
And it's also great because you don't have to deal with particles for some of those when you would otherwise kind of like have that explosion, kind of almost like a glitter thing. It's simplified, but it still works better than having to boot something up like Red Giant or something.
Oh, and this is an interesting question. So I know we talked about it being all vector shapes, but I'm assuming it's creating a pre-comp that if you wanted to go in and make some kind of modification, you'd be able to crack that open and change it.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so you can open up the pre-comp and change it, and then every time you click on that animation, it will pull whatever pre-comp version you created.
Oh, that's even better. So you can actually modify
yeah, like within your project file. And if you want kind of like the original version and your new version, you just have to rename your new version something different, and then click on the original, and then you'll have both available to you.
Very cool. So once it creates it into your project, it then uses the pre-comp that it created in your project.
Right, exactly.
Got it. Yeah, it's very clever.
All right. Well, thank you so much for walking us through both of those. We went ahead and I threw the link to your author page for aescripts into the chat. So if you guys want to check that out, you can. Like I said, there will be a label on top of Emoji Kit for the sale just because of the collaboration. But everything else is actually just regular price, but they're all brilliantly priced. So it's still a deal per se.
And then I did just put like Burstbox is not part of the official sale, but I just knocked off $5 for like a bonus sale for the live stream. And then I'll just turn it off after the live stream. So thanks for coming, guys.
Woo, woo. Thanks, Brenton.
All right, thank you.
The cat's telling you to cut it out, Ryan.
Yeah, I know, right? Just towards the end of the stream, just going wild. But thank you so much, Brenton.
I'm getting eaten alive by the light.
All right, thank you so much for having me, guys. It was great to see you.
Thanks, man.
So that's it for us for today. Like I said, you can go on and you can check out the sales all on the top of the page of any of the aescripts websites. And we'll be back on Wednesday with a few more creators, and we'll be going through any of them. As with anything else, if you guys have any questions about any of the plugins or scripts, please don't hesitate to reach out. Love to hear from you. Love to answer questions. And looking forward to showing you more on Wednesday.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan.
All right. Don't get eaten by the sun. Make sure you wear sunscreen and wear a helmet when you go paddleboarding.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, guys. And then, by the way, this is the official list of the participating authors for this week. You can see there's a bunch of familiar names on there. I mean, Plug and Play is a personal favorite of mine. And we'll be going through.
Oh, yeah, we didn't talk about Data Mosh too, but dude, they just released the sickest feature called Mosh Maps. Check it out. Go there and check out the. We'll play it on Wednesday, right? Because he's going to be on Wednesday.
Yes, yes, Ryan, and he's very excited to walk us through that.
Just to talk about it briefly, I think it completely has. So data moshing has always been, in my opinion, kind of this like fringy effect. It's like people who like it love it, but it's not for everybody, and like it got overused in music videos, and it's just like it's kind of like too much. Well, Mosh Maps really brings it back into a very usable thing because you can actually outline certain parts that are not moshed, and then that drives the moshing. It's really great. Really great.
I'm excited to test it
I think
out.
We're going to start seeing a lot of stuff going on.
I was talking to him when we were doing the tech check or what have you, and I was just saying that it's interesting to see how it can be like present in even things like Everything Everywhere All at Once. Just the amount of effects that kind of I wonder stem from aescripts.com for that. But I felt like there was probably a data moshing moment in there. There's just so much it's hard to even tell. But yeah, to your point, outside of that, it's like pretty fringe, and just like Adult Swim, what have you, or like motion designers having fun seeing what they can do.
Yeah, I'm gonna put this one thing in you just need to show this as a teaser. I put it in the chat here.
Oh yeah, sure. Also, one other thing while you're doing that, you went ahead and you posted I took mushrooms today onto the YouTube channel. And that's a really cool one because it works with neural filters and being able to switch between images to find kind of like these crazy vibes. And that kind of reminds me a lot also of
how
you
totally
play
different thing, but yeah. But just play.
Oh, but yeah, different thing is how it works, but just the idea of how it can like blend. Whoa, this is nuts. All right, let's share my screen real quick.
But play this one thing, yeah. So this is an example of how data moshing in a much more approachable and usable way. It doesn't just look like you lost your like satellite dish connection, which is what it used to be. Now it's actual graphic design that looks really cool and it has a real specific purpose. So
remarkable.
So all right, well let's wrap it up.
We'll be back on Wednesday. Thank you guys so much. And thank you to everyone that was in the chat saying hello. Reverb Mike, are you talking about Splash, the like liquid looking effect where you can kind of like add strokes and have bubbles pop up? How do you make that faster? I mean,
that's a question for just bring it up on Wednesday because you're gonna have him on. He's the developer.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, then you have to tune back in on Wednesday. So, all right, guys. Thank you again. I'm gonna play it out with the promo, which is beautiful. It's by the Duo team. And then we'll see you on Wednesday. Take care. Bye.